this next video, where we'll be in our episode where we'll be discussing the architecture diagram. I want you guys to really get it, so that when we start the demo, you can follow from beginning to the end. So today we will be looking into the end-to-end architectural walkthrough. Okay, now focus here on the source. We have the source, the ingest, the transform, query and process, serve, consumer or output. Okay, now let's focus on the sources. Okay, now for this particular demo we have two sources. Now quick correction, in our last video we did mention that the New York City TXT is in CSV format, but however things have changed after that time. Now it's in package file. Okay, we're going to talk about it. Okay, now there are two sources. We have the Open Metro API that stores the weather data, and then we have the New York City TXT that stores the trip data. All right, now one is in JSON and one is in package file. I'll quickly show you what the source really looks like. So let me quickly share that. Now if you look at this website, this is where we will be using, this is where we have the weather data, the historical weather data that we'll be using for this demo. And for the New York City data, this is their website. I'm going to share that in the recording, but just know this is where we get it from. Now you can see various data here from January up to September. Today's zone will start with July. This demo will start with July, then we go to August, and if time permits we'll also go to September. Okay, but this is where the data is. Now for this one we're gonna download it. Now I will start with the JSON briefly, just for people that might not know JSON. Okay, JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. Okay, and this is what we call a semi-structured data. All right, now is a lightweight text-based format used to store and exchange data. Really, there are some key features with this JSON structured data. Okay, just before we go further, I'm going to show you what the data actually looks like. You can see this is what a JSON file would basically look like. Okay, now what are the key features that you need to bear in mind when we talk about JSON? Okay, number one, it's human readable and easy to understand. Number two is language independent and is derived from JavaScript syntax. Now there are key things to note here. Its object is key value, so basically key value pair. You can say the key here and then you say the value. It always comes in that pair. All right, and also we have arrays of data that you need to know that sometimes also it's nested as well. The data in there is nested. So those are things that's how the JSON format really comes. Now it's used in APIs, configuration file, data pipelines, and so on. All right, so that's just to give you an idea of the data as well as the structure. All right, so now let's go to the package file. For the package file, if you are to download the package file, okay, you will see it in this manner. I'm just gonna give me a second. I'm gonna try to open the package file, and you can do the same as well. I'm just gonna try and open it, and you will see exactly how it looks like. Okay, so this is how your package file looks like. Okay, you can see this is what it looks like. You can't really see it, and I'll tell you why it's like that when you try to open it in maybe a Notepad++ or a Notepad. The reason is because the package file is a really optimized file structure. Okay, and what that simply means is that it is binary file format. So in other words, it's very different type of file format, right? And the reason why we use it for this type of design is because it's optimized for storing large and structured data sets. All right, it's also designed for efficient data comprehension and encoding. Just to talk a little bit about the advantage or the nature of the Packify. It also supports complex nested data structure. We have arrays, map, and struct. Okay, now because it's really optimized, a lot of in the industry, a lot of companies are adopting this structure. Okay, now I want to give you guys a challenge. Now I'm going to share the packet file or share the website. You can download it yourself. Try to read it on your own. Okay, I'm going to show you what the data look like, but try to read it on your own. You will need Python or Spark to be able to read it, but you can really spin up a Python on your local machine and just make it just a fun, activity. Try to read the file. Now I have gone ahead to read the file for you, and I'll show you what the file looks like. Now this is what the data look like. This is really filtered because the data is over 1 million record, but this is what it looks like. And now a few things to take notes from this data. You can see the vendor ID, the date time, the passenger count, trip discount, location ID, payment type, fare amount, and so on. Okay, that's really what the data looks like. Now we're gonna go through that process of really reading the packet file, but I just want you to have an idea of what the data really looks like. All right, so now let's go back to our drawing. Okay, now when you look at these two sources, now you know what they look like, you know what the sources, the website. Now let's talk about how do we get this data into S3. All right, now for this one, the trip data, we're going to actually download it and upload to S3. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Now for the API, because the nature of it is really you need to be able to connect through an API link. We are going to, and it will require some sort of programming. We're going to use Lambda within AWS to be able to pull the data from OpenMetro into S3, and then within the bucket of S3 we're going to have a folder called landing, and in that particular folder we're going to have the same format that these data are in. We're going to have it in landing. We are going to have a JSON and packet file. Okay, so more like it's going to be 5 bits, right? However, now moving forward, S3 is more of just a blob service. It's mainly for storage in AWS. So now moving over, we're gonna then transfer this data into bronze, which is more of a raw layer. So essentially we want the data to be in table format, and we want it to be Delta Lake format. Now why do we like the Delta Lake? Now by the way, the bronze, silver, and gold will be in Delta Lake format. Now what are the advantages of making sure that this data is stored in Delta Lake? Number one, Delta Lake offers what we call ACID transaction, which ACID simply, A stands for atomicity, C stands for consistency, I stands for isolation, D stands for durability. And what that means is that essentially when you have your data in any of these layers, what happens is you want to be able to read fast and write back to it in a way that is very fast, right? So the Delta Lake structure help us with that. All right, number two is also helps it can combine both batch and streaming processing. Also it can handle scalable metadata, metadata information about your data. So all the metadata, it can handle it really well. Also it has other advantages like time travel and so on. If you really want to get into that, you can please feel free to just look at the advantages of Delta Lake. All right, enough of that. Let's go back to our flow here. Now we've talked about this. It's going to retain the same format that we have in the source, and bronze is going to just have the same table or the same data in bronze, but however it's going to be in table format and it's going to be Delta Lake. Now we want to make sure that the data in the bronze layer is the same as we have in the sources. Very important, because every time we need to validate, we can confidently use this bronze data to validate. And also, one of the advantages of the Delta Lake also is make sure that we don't have, there is a way it works that we don't have data truncation, right, or incomplete data. It always, there is a mechanism in place that ensures that the data are complete, and also we put validation in place, obviously, to make sure that what we have in source is exactly what we have in raw. Now that we have our data in bronze, now before I go further, okay, let me go further, then I talk about where all of this transformation will take place. Now, from the bronze layer, we will need some additional attributes that we don't really have in bronze, and we'll need to kind of clean up our data a little bit. So in silver layer, that's what we do here. We basically clean the data in a way that we really want, not just for the use case alone, but for other use cases, okay? In some cases, it will be in a domain structure. For example, we have customer domain, you have insurance domain, you have all other kinds of domain that are relevant to the business, okay? Now that we have this, remember in the silver layer, we still have two separate tables. We still have the weather data and then the trip data, okay? Now, the only thing we are doing here is that we are standardizing, or we are cleaning up the data to have all the attributes that we need, and if we need more, we add more, okay? But we keep them isolated. Now, in the gold layer is what we really call the curated zone, whereby we want to really make sure that all the heavy processing that the business will need, especially fact table that might be in millions of records, are processed within this platform, because it's easy. The processing is meant to handle really large volume and complicated queries. Now, what we then do here is that we know exactly from the context we gave in the last video, we know exactly what we're trying to achieve. So we make sure that all the attributes from both the weather data and the tags data are being referenced in this gold layer, okay? And then we have all the various metrics also referenced in this gold layer, right? This gold layer is then what will make its way to Redshift and then eventually to Power BI for visualization, okay? Now, you'll be wondering, all of this transformation will be performing, where exactly is it going to take place, okay? It's actually going to take place in Databricks, okay? That's why you see there's a back and forth here, right? Showing that there's going to be some interaction back and forth between Databricks and S3. S3 is actually where the data is stored, and this is where we manage the data, okay? So all the transformation takes place here. For example, we also take advantage of Delta Live tables, and these are key things you can also check. And if you want more information, or you want me to do more video on some of these concepts, just leave me a comment in the box there, and then I'll be able to take that back and be able to see what we can do to provide those videos to you. But there will be many more on this particular, on Databricks itself. Now let's really quickly give you a very high level why we have the Delta Live tables. Now, Delta Live table is a declarative framework for building scalable, reliable, and maintainable data pipelines on Delta Lake, okay? Now, what it does, it helps us with to automate and orchestration, data quality enforcement, infrastructure management, and also it make our ETL development faster and more robust, okay? That's why we like to use the DLT. We're gonna use that part of automation, but it's gonna be towards the end, okay? And the Spark engine, many of us will know it, but if you don't know it, just try and Google it. If you want more information, just tell me on the comment, okay? And Photon engine as well is part of what is in Databricks. And then we also have we'll have workflows or pipeline orchestration and notebooks, and on top of that we also have data governance, which we use Unity Catalog within Databricks to execute, okay? Now that's just a high level on data. There's so much to cover on Databricks, okay? Now when we have the data, you'll be wondering that the arrow is pointing here, because we could push the data from Go directly to Redshift, but in our case we just want to use the data frame, because we'll have the data frame somewhere along the line that is being stored in Gold, and so we just want to push that data frame straight off to Redshift. That's why we keep it here, because the data frame resides in Databricks. Some of you might not know what data frame is. Just try to Google it. You will understand. It's more of a table within a various framework. It's more of table-like structure. Let me put it that way. Okay. Now let's move on. Now you can see we've done ingest, we've done transform. Query also happens in Databricks, and then we're saving the data to Redshift. Now Redshift is going to be our data warehouse. We won't dive into data warehousing, but just know that that's what it is. And again, feel free to look it up. But we're going to have many videos, so there will be time where we have to dive into some of this concept, so we can really talk about them in detail. But for now, so we'll externalize the data in Redshift, and from Redshift we provision the data in Power BI, and then from Power BI we can make it available on the web. Now, before we wrap up for today, from some of the key things I'd like you to also notice that you've been wondering, we don't have any of these resources, right? If you just launch in your console within AWS, you don't have, how do we deploy these resources in the first place before we start building all of these things we talk about on top of it? Now, that's where all of this comes into place. We have the VPC that will be used to be able to allow different services to talk to one another, and also make sure that, you know, if we have third-party data, third-party resource, they can also talk to one another. We have the IAM roles that we use to manage assets. Then we have the CloudFormation we use for orchestration, and then we have the EC2, which is going to be the engine within Databricks we use to run some of our computation, right? And so that's where all of this come in handy, right? I know that's a lot, but you know, feel free to rewatch this recording over and over again. Make sure you understand this architecture diagram, because when we start the demo, you might be wondering, what are we doing? Every time you have that question, where are we, what are we doing, just always come back here. And in our recording as well, we might have the opportunity to go back and forth just to make sure that we carry everyone along. Guys, I know this is a lot. I hope you've learned a lot also from it. It was fun for me to prepare this too for you. And please feel free to share with other people, like and subscribe if you want more videos on this, and let us know what you think. You know, give us a feedback. If you like it, you know, let us know, and so that we can encourage us to keep doing more, and also it also help other people to discover this content more. All right, thank you, and I will see you in the next recording.